This is Growing Your Firm, the podcast for ambitious accountants and firm owners who want to work smarter, grow faster, and lead better. I'm your host, David Cristello. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, David Cristello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today's guest is Ryan Lazanis. He's the founder behind Future Firm. You might have recognized Ryan's name well because we've interviewed him before. Ryan, I feel like you've been on panels, you've been on summits, we've done a lot of content with you, but it's been a while. So we're looking forward to what you've learned. You're constantly in the lab, you're constantly within your Future Firm community, instilling best practices around pricing, marketing, systems, and tech. You're always seeing kind of what's new and what's updated. You're prior to Future Firm, you'd built a 7-figure firm from scratch to sale in just 5 years. So we have a lot to talk about, and we'll probably touch on a couple of topics here today. But I'm excited to bring you back to the show and welcome back.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Long overdue. Thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, of course. So when we were gearing up for this interview, you actually sent over this really unique a request to change the interview, right? So this may be the first time we got this. And so if you don't mind, I'd love to start in, we're gearing up for this interview and you say, hey, I'm still recovering from a concussion. I was like, oh my gosh, right? I mean, we are knowledge workers. So, I mean, our brain is quite important. And so I'm curious, help us unpack, as much as you want to, what happened and what did it look like to step away from your business during that time?
Yeah. So I think I canceled the interview twice, and apologies for that, but I really just was not up for it. And about 4 months ago, I suffered a concussion, which I didn't think it would be too serious. I'd knocked my head on a tree and I thought I just had like a big gash, a big cut on my forehead. And, I just can continue, I was a little bit buzzed, a little bit dazed, but I just continued doing what I typically do. I'm a triathlete away from work. So I like to spend many hours training and I continued my training, I continued my work, and that just really totally exacerbated the issue. It made things much, much worse, I believe. And it's something I've been struggling with since April. Now, obviously, I'm capable of working and I'm capable of interacting and having these calls. But a couple months ago, I was not. I was, lying on that little sofa behind me, trying to, maybe squeeze in an email or two if I could, but looking at the screen and pretty much even some days I wasn't able to walk, so
wow.
Yeah, it was quite bad, but, and trying to run a business like that is pretty difficult. So,
and this is obviously unplanned, right? And you had to take how much time? I mean, how much time did you spend or have to spend totally unplugged from your business, completely unplanned? I
mean, I would not say totally unplugged, but there was many days where I would not be able to do much. Maybe a couple emails if I'm lucky, So, what I was able to do was really so I had built enough systems and enough of a team prior to that where I was able to take a step back. And it's different to plan a vacation and unplug from a vacation for 2 weeks when you've kind of done the legwork ahead of time. But this is, an injury where I was not able to function, where it was not planned. And luckily I had things in place where things can continue to roll. So I was very fortunate with that. It also kind of gave me an opportunity to take stock of what was not working well. What I needed to improve on. I was able to read. I read quite a book. I have right here, I got just a small stack of books that I was able to get through, so I was able to, I wasn't able to watch TV or really look at my phone, but reading was not that bad.
Interesting.
So I was able to read and improve and educate myself. And now today I just have to take things slow. Which is not my normal speed, but that's just the reality of the situation.
And, looking back in that period where you had spent weeks at 5% of capacity, 10% of capacity, maybe, if that,
mm-hmm.
What were the critical systems you put in place, or who were the critical people that were there? And the reason I'm asking, somebody is listening might say, well, Ryan doesn't run an accounting firm. Okay. We're in the knowledge economy. I think there's a lot of relatable things that I mean, it wasn't planned you were going to do this, but you had scaffolding that allowed you to navigate this with, seemingly minimal professional damage, which is extremely hard to do. So help the audience understand, how you were able to go down to 5 or 10% capacity and not have the business just implode.
Well, I had different people in place to take care of a variety of different business functions rather than me approving and handling all business functions. So I had people to handle operations. They've been trained on operations. I had people to handle marketing. They were trained in marketing. We had a process for how things should get done, a system for how things should get delivered. And I also just had to, I am a bit of a perfectionist. Delegation has never been my strongest point. It's something I've had to learn, over the years. But I've also, during that time, I had to learn to even let go a little bit more and just let people run with it. And,
coming back, are you going to regain part of those control, or now that you've been out, you say they're going to keep it? And if so, what's an example of something they would keep or you would pull back?
Well, one thing that I have taken over a little bit more, I'm now leading marketing. Previously, I did have someone leading marketing, but I'm taking a bigger. I'm basically the marketing lead at the moment. I do have people on my marketing team, but that's something that I'm stepping into. There's a variety of reasons for why I'm going to be doing that, but part of it has to do with AI, which we can talk about at a later point. I'm leading marketing, and that's what I like. That's what I enjoy. I think that's what I'm good at. But operations is something that I really don't want to touch at all. Like managing, the overall team, dealing with process improvement, implementing processes. So I think it was just clarifying. I think probably during that time I was off was clarifying what I was really good at, what I wanted to continue doing, and what I should be doing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, it does. How did you find that operations person that can take over? Is that an onshore, nearshore, offshore? It feels like this kind of EOS would call it the integrator, but many of our listeners might want to extract themselves from the delivery part of their client base. So it feels like a very critical hire. What have you found to be kind of useful ways to recruit or empower operation leaders?
Yeah, so we have a team of 12, so we're not a massive team, but we're a pretty lean team, and we're all offshore. Most of the team is in the Philippines, but I have someone in Panama, that's our director of operations, and I have someone in Indonesia, one of our developers. But I did have a little bit of experience with this at my firm. When I was running my firm, I'd hired a COO pretty early on because I knew that my time was not best served in managing a team and implementing structure and processes, even though I could do it. Plus, I really dislike doing it. I get very frustrated when I find myself in that kind of role. So I knew early on that, like when I started Future Firm, that I needed that. And we started with like a fractional director of operations, and then that moved to a full-time director of operations where I think I found her on a directory. At the time, there was certified online business manager or certified director of operations, like these different programs to go through. And like I was early on starting Future Firm, and I would spend the time recruiting. I would spend the time pitching people, reviewing profiles, going through the interviews. That's something I really don't like either. So now I have someone to do that. I have someone to do the interviews. I have someone to onboard and train our team members, which I'm very happy about. And I do think a lot of firms can benefit from that kind of role, whether it's fractional or whether it's full-time. I think having someone that is very good with people and systems and process, even though they might not be cheap, it's a good investment.
When you say they may not be cheap, what numbers do you think are reasonable for the audience to have in their mind for this role?
It's really going to depend on, where they're located, if they're onshore versus offshore. But I think like 100K and up is a fair estimate.
Yeah. I mean, these are people that are going to be running the day-to-day
Yep.
of your firm. You want to get somebody very high quality. So I think that makes sense. When you see in your accounting community and with your clients or even yourself, what do you think is the appropriate revenue threshold where they should start looking for at least a fractional COO? Is it $500,000 a year? Is it higher? Is it lower? Like, where do you think that breaking point is?
So I was at a team size of 5 at my firm when I brought someone full-time on for that. So just to give perspectives, I was very top heavy in the early days, hiring CPAs and experienced people to build that foundation so I could pull myself out of things. It's going to depend on the objective of the firm. Like if you're at 800K in revenue and you only want to hit $1 million and you're not working crazy hours, then maybe, you don't even need a full-time role. So I think it depends on the objectives. I think it depends on the situation at hand. Like if you're spending 80 hours a week and you're a 500K firm, then, maybe you want to bite the bullet. So I think generally speaking, though, approaching the 7-figure mark, that's when it's time to start thinking of one of these hires.
Got it. That makes sense. I love that as a directional milestone. I'm going to shift gears a little bit with you, where you said you had maybe a slightly controversial AI take. So I'd love to get your gut reaction, or very, very informed gut reaction when people say, what's your take on AI in accounting?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's controversial, but so this is coming from someone that has like tested AI quite a bit over the years. I have a clone. I have an AI clone. I've cloned my expertise. I have, we have over 700 members in our Future from Accelerate program that get access to Ryan Bot, which is my AI coaching clone. And like they're interacting with it on a daily basis to like pick my
And it's working.
AI.
Are they getting like they give it high NPS, this experience?
They love it. I mean, I think the average session time is like close to 20 minutes or something like that.
Wow.
So it's like, and I even have a toll-free number for it where I've cloned my voice. I don't think anybody knows about that yet. I haven't really advertised it, but I have a toll-free number you can call. You could speak to what sounds exactly like me because I've cloned my voice. When I had my concussion, I also cloned my avatar, and I had a presentation. I think it was a big presentation that we were preparing for a long time. I think there was like 500 people that attended, but I did not deliver the presentation. I did the intro, which I barely made it through. I was in really bad shape at the time. And then I passed it over to my clone, which was an avatar of me presenting. So I did script it out, but it was the same voice and it looked exactly what you're seeing right now.
Did the audience know it was the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I told them, I said, unfortunately, I won't be able to present, but I'm going to have my clone present. And they thought it was pretty weird, which it was. It was strange. So all of this is great stuff. Like we could produce content and material and like that today. The problem is that everybody else could do it. So like, I think I have a newsletter about this. I have about 10,000 readers on my free newsletter. And I have a newsletter about this. And I think the subject is AI is making my life harder. So we can do things more easily, but that just means that everyone else could do things more easily. So that becomes that's table stakes, right? Like when I started Zen Accounting, most of my leads came from SEO and blogging, and I would write this, 300-word blog post in an hour or whatever, and it would rank on Google very easily because no one else was doing that. But now you can have AI that produces that in 2 seconds. So now our blog posts are like 10,000 words or 5,000 words, and it's like intricate. And like, I know you guys have a great blogging strategy, and I'm sure like it's
and I could tell you, I mean, honestly, some insider baseball there is, we've always invested in content, but things are shifting, pretty dramatically. So pretty much everyone I know, and we're not exempt from this, had some noticeable drop in organic search traffic because Google Instant Answers and ChatGPT and Claude and whatever. And so, talked to and have subsequently hired a number of different SEO contractors and agencies that, are kind of on the cutting edge of how to index and rank for LLMs, which is similar but slightly different than SEO, typical SEO.
That is going to be the next big thing that, who's going to be able to figure that one out first, right?
Yeah.
But I think my point is that everyone could produce very good stuff easily.
Yeah.
Like everyone could produce really good social media posts now easily. Everyone could produce any kind of content easily. So that just makes everyone's life harder, because to stand out, you got to do much more and much better. And, like if your clients could get a tax plan from ChatGPT, like you gotta really beat that out. Like if very soon you'll just be able to tell your whole situation in ChatGPT. You could probably do it right now, and it will give you a tax plan. So why would they pay from a tax plan for you? How are you going to make things better? So that's why like AI is great. AI is making things more efficient. It's making things easier, but it's actually making our lives more difficult, because now we have to stand out from the AI.
I guess that's really well said, because the hardest crunch would be your clients are becoming well-versed in AI and you're not. So they're coming to you having some semblance of a tax plan. You are not using AI-enabled tax planning tools. They have now an information advantage over you. You're still using, for lack of a better word, snail mail techniques. And, they're going to immediately commoditize your experience if you, or you're going to have to provide a service that just, they see a price point and they're like, well, I'm already getting 95% of this, like you said, from ChatGPT. And so if you're not investing in your own firm of having co-pilots and more efficiency, your clients certainly are, and they're going to be asking more of you. And if you haven't freed up your efficiency or your capacity to take on more, then you're going to be really stuck. Like you will be price pressured all the time from your clients, or you're going to have clients churn.
Correct. Unless we could improve the experience we deliver, which does take more capacity. Like, because the trend is clear that, you see it through what people are saying on social media, or even just through different interactions, that people want to deal with people. People want to deal with humans. They want that. There's a craving right now for that human experience, and I don't think that's going to go away. So we need to inject that human experience into what we do, into everything that we do, whether it's content we produce or the services that we deliver. We have to humanize ourselves. And I think people will pay a premium for that. Like, people can get all my knowledge right now for $19 a month at RyanBot. You go to ryanbot.ai. Everything I know is in that tool, and you can get it for $19 a month. But why would someone pay me thousands of dollars a month in place of that? It's because they want the human experience. So I think that's a big trend that we're going to be seeing.
That's wild. So you have Ryan, just as a side note, and it is in parallel to what accounting firms could do, but like, help us understand what you've done for your program. You have Ryan bought $20 a month. You kind of built the tool to like you are oh gosh, I can't think of the NBA term, but you are disrupting yourself by building your own bot with all the advice for $20 a month. So what is the experience that you've unpacked or you've seen unpacked that people would say? You talk about the human experience. Well, what's an example of that where people are paying a lot more than $20 a month, either in your community or firms that you're working with or coaching?
Well, I think like, I think like we've had a certain model that works quite well in Future Firm Accelerate, where, sometimes it's about how you structure information, right? Not like just like a chat bot where it's like you're just asking stuff off the top of your head, but like you take someone through an experience with the content. And that's what we do with our playbook, our online courses. And then you support them to implement and get support and get help when they need it through, different types of coaching in the program. We have our community forums where people like to engage. We have over 700 firms from around the world. People like to engage with each other. So there's some community building, a sense of community. But I think a big theme for us is going to be like, how do we help you implement? How do we help you stay accountable?
Implement what? Like a new sales process? Like what's an example where
I can give you like the information of how to price your work. That's a big part of what we do, is how to price, how to package your work so that, you're charging what you're worth. That's a big problem in the industry, is like many firms are undercutting themselves, and that's leading to overwork. Like I could show you that information. I can give you the templates, but sometimes you need a little bit more specifics about your unique situation. Sometimes you just need someone that's going to be following up with you to make sure you're actually doing it. Because if you're the sole owner and you have, these other 30 different responsibilities on your plate, maybe some of the other stuff is going to slide, even though it's very important to do. So there's an accountability component. Like we have like our progress pods, which are our version of mastermind groups, where we match people up like in groups of 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then they share their goals and they share what they're going to commit to by the time they meet next. And that's like a form of introducing accountability to help people make progress and hit their objectives. So I think that's a big theme when it comes to education these days, is how do we make implementation easier? And how do we help hold you accountable?
Yeah. Just to hang on that implementation part one more. So is there another way you would help them implement? So you mentioned pricing. I guess what's another example? Because I just think this point's very important. Both, I mean, it's obviously impacting your community, but I think for any professional service.
Mm-hmm. So another example would be like we have like these monthly workshops that we do. Instead of just the information in the workshop, like we have this like recurring series called Marketing Lab that we kicked off last month. And we're going to now give you something you could learn about how to implement in your marketing in the first 20 minutes. And then we're going to put you into breakout groups of like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then you implement it in the breakout group, and you have the expert come around and say, oh, okay, this is like, maybe consider doing it like this, maybe look at it like that. And then you all reconvene in the main room to like share what everybody's done. So like, that's an example. Like we're going to just get something done on the spot right here and now, rather than just giving you the information. And then, you leave the workshop and nothing gets done.
I love that. I've been, I think there is, while AI can create some really fantastic things, and they can sound really good, sometimes like specifically in marketing, but it's applicable anywhere. There's sometimes a thread that doesn't always connect the experience together. I was creating a PDF recently, a research report, and I'd done the pure AI workflow. So I recorded all the calls. I was taking my own notes, but I recorded all the calls. I took the transcripts of all the calls. There's 20 calls, uploaded it to ChatGPT. I said, generate the summary. I took that summary. I threw it in an AI PowerPoint tool. It created 15 slides, perfectly formatted. They look beautiful. And I read it and I'm like, it just feels so bland and
Polished.
Yeah, polished. And there wasn't, if I wanted to ignite action from that PDF, it wasn't going to happen. So there wasn't a narrative of the pain point, visualizing the pain point, anchoring the pain point to things they'd missed. Now, granted, I probably could have kept prompting AI to do this, but there is a point where you're like, I got enough. Now I got to go. I'm just going to call it offline, even if it's online. I'll just call it without AI, and then fine tune it and tweak it. If copywriting or marketing happens to be your skill, right? If tax planning happens to be your skill, you could probably fine tune it and tweak it. And there is a moment where having an expert come around or see other people's presentation, even if you've got an AI generated ad to come through and kind of tweak it, they might see the ad and they can look at that and say, that value prop of the ad sounds great, but it's nowhere on your website, or it's nowhere in your emails, or you actually don't mention this, policy anywhere, or this guarantee anywhere, right? So like, let's zoom out a little bit. The ad looks good. Does it make sense for the holistic experience? So I love this idea of having the human touch come in and be the editor, be the reviewer. And frankly, that's where AI is pushing us all into editor and reviewer mode anyway.
Yep. And the other theme is, and we talked about this even before you press record, is authenticity. How could we how could we be more authentic and appear because AI provides a great output, but it's extremely polished. Like you can tell when something is done by AI.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how could you inject a little bit more authenticity into it so that you're connecting better with whoever you're interacting with?
Yeah, it's going back to the accounting firm. It's one thing to deliver the presentation. It's another thing to be talking with the client, and the client's just saying yes, sounds good. And then as a actual person, you take a step back and say, hey, is everything okay? I just feel like you might be really distracted. Is there something else going on? Is there other parts of the business that are challenging you, troubling you? I know this is a tax planning call, but I just feel prompted to ask, right? That's something a human will pick up on versus
That's
an
true.
AI will just go through and somebody says, sound good. AI will just go to the next one. It will just keep going to the next one. Oh, positive confirmation. It'll go through the next one, the next one.
That is very true.
Yeah. I have to ask, as we wrap up here, I have two areas to dig into. One is, we had talked about, in the past, pricing, we've talked about marketing systems. In 2025 and beyond, what do you think is the number one barrier for firms that you see in your community? You mentioned 700 members. Is pricing still the dominant thing? Has it switched over to talent, finding the right people? Is it systems? What is the, thing that keeps surfacing in the top of your community?
I think it's, 3 or 4 things really. And I don't think it's changed much over the years. I think there's a larger appetite for AI, tech, process, but we still need the fundamentals in place to run a great business, right? We need to price things well. We need to package your offers properly so that they're attractive to your clients and so that they guard your time, because a lot of people do offer fixed price packages, but they're giving away too much. So that's the number one thing I see when someone's overworked or the margins are you'd be surprised at how many accounting firms out there have pretty small margins. That was surprising to me when I got into this world of helping other accounting firms. And it's the pricing and packaging that's typically the main culprit there. But beyond that, there's very bad protection of time. There's the firm that's spread across, 20 different areas in the business that's doing everything. So they're the bottleneck. They struggle with delegation. And a lot of them just have a really hard time with marketing as well. Marketing is not it just does not connect with them. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to put the time necessary. Digital marketing is great, content marketing is great, but it's a lot of time. It's a lot of dedication and consistency. And it's just not a big interest of theirs. A lot of these firms, a lot of the firm owners, they either like growing the business or they like being involved in some way, shape, or form, advising their clients. And I'm going off at a tangent, but I don't think the major themes have changed much. It's still the thing that's remained constant is that they struggle with, the foundation of the business, the basics of the business. And they do get distracted from a lot of there's a lot of AI stuff that's just very distracting out there. It's not going to solve, if you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, AI is not going to solve your problem. We need to fix the business model first.
I have to ask, because the margins were surprising. What is the margin range you would see and think pricing and packaging? You've nailed it. But what's I'll call it more typical margins you see when people first enter the community?
I mean, I see people, at break even. I see people at 5%, 10%, 15%. That's very, 15% margin is very typical from what I see entering the program. Wow. I also see margins at 50%, which does clue me and the ones with the highest margins are sometimes the ones that are the busiest as well, because they don't have the right people on the team to they're the ones with the biggest bottleneck issues typically. Yeah. So the very low and the very high end, there's typically a lot of similarities there actually.
What's the Goldilocks margin range in your mind?
I mean, it's really going to depend on like Brandon Hall. He runs a great firm. He had a great newsletter about this where he said like, I know firms that have the 50% margins, but they're working themselves to the bone. But let's say don't quote me, let's say I have a 20% margin, but I'm barely doing any work at all because I've installed the team, I have a cost structure that's required to support this kind of firm. And I have an 8-figure firm at a 20% margin, but I'm not doing the work. So what would you prefer? Would you prefer a 50% margin where you're working 70 hours a week? Or would you prefer something like the 20% margin where you're not doing any work at all? So I think it's going to depend on your objectives. I like aiming for a net margin of 30% and up.
Got it. Final question. I love the stack of books. I recognize the one because I know the team there, very familiar with SaaS Academy. So I saw the one from Dan Martell and Johnny and Matt and
that was a good one.
Marcel, Software as a Science.
Yeah.
Have my copy right underneath that hat behind me. What were, for our listeners, counting from owners, from the books you've read, what are your top 1 or 2 recommendations from the stack you just devoured in your time here?
Well, I have another stack. Let me see. I have a stack over here as well. This was a good one.
Buy Back Your Time.
How about
by Dan Martell. Delegation by Dave Ramsey.
You could read this in 30 minutes. Okay.
How thick is that book? It looks like it's 100 pages. See, I love that. My motto is if the book's less than 100 pages, I instantly buy it. I'm like, because it's gonna be amazing and concise, or it's gonna be like a extended brochure. I don't know, but you know what? For 100 pages, I'm gonna gamble it on it every time.
I have a lot of books on leadership that I was reading. The 5 dysfunctions of a team. This was actually a very easy read. And if anyone's interested in marketing, advertising, this one is pretty cool. This one, Scientific Advertising. And what's cool about it is that this book was written over 100 years ago. So if you see like some of the ads, I don't know if I should even be showing this or not, but like some of the ads, look how old some of these ads are.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it still holds very true today. All the content in there, but
human psychology has remained. Even though the channels have changed.
Yeah, correct.
I love it, Ryan. If somebody wants to reach out, say thank you, learn more about what you're up to, what's the best way for the audience to connect?
On my newsletter. So just go to futurefirm.co/newsletter. I send a couple emails a week that are emails designed to help you unlock freedom and growth in your business. So that's the best place. You sign up, you get access to my email address there as well. So with around 10,000 readers on it at the moment.
Perfect. If you couldn't jot down all the notes from today, we're going to link it up at jetpackworkflow.com/blog, jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We'll link up to the newsletter. I'm a subscriber. I recommend you subscribe too. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a review. And if you really enjoyed it, share it, text it, email it, post it on social, whatever you need to do. Ryan, this has been a real treat. Thanks for coming back on.
Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate it.